Hey guys, how's it going? Doug here. I'm going to be talking about a portrait that I did today of a YouTube performer that my daughter and I watch just about every night. Her name is Reneé Dominique. She is a beautiful singer and guitar and ukulele player, and that's why my daughter loves watching her. She loves the ukulele, and I found a photo that I thought would be really good for a portrait figure study. And so let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to go ahead and play it. And this is a 9 by 12, I believe, oil on canvas. And I start out with my transparent red oxide. And one of the things that I'll just talk about real quick right off the bat is this underpainting allows me to make changes quickly as I'm drawing. I can wipe away things if I find that they're not correct. And it also helps me make sure that I have my things in place. Now, I'm going to go ahead and stop it real quick, and I'm going to rewind, and I'm going to get to those. I have 3 points here. One, the intersection of her legs, the elbow to the hip, and then the highlight in her hair. And one of the things I'd like to talk about is, for me, those were compositional points. How would you say triangulations to make sure that my figure and the proportions are correct? I didn't even really think about this. This was just something I'm watching the video and I realized, oh yeah, that was intentional. Why did I do that? And I can only tell you the process was to make sure that my proportions were proper. I think one of the things that I've learned as I've been painting is that I've been discovering things that I do that I don't realize it. It's just how would you say subconscious. And I believe this is one of those things that is it's subconscious that I do from time to time. And that's one of the things that I've been learning as I've been talking about my videos about that. So yeah, it can be very helpful to put some contrast in areas that as you're doing your underdrawing to say, hey, is this all fitting together? And that was definitely the intent there. And laying in some areas, I kind of like to work a little bit all over. I know I've talked about this in the past. One of the things that I found that is very helpful, it's not easy, and I definitely didn't do it starting out, is to work all over the painting, to work and jump and back and forth from different areas versus uh, dialing in on an area and finishing it and then spreading out. Now, I'm not saying any of that is wrong. Everybody has their own preference. I just find that this allows me to work faster and to be more cognizant of the overall painting versus and to recognize areas that need to be worked on or adjusted. Whereas if you work in one spot and then go out, I find that might be a little bit more harder to do because if I need to move a head, if the head's too small or too big, a finished head that hours are lost in a wipe and a correction, and it can be harder. It can be a harder pill to swallow if you've spent 5 hours on a head and then realize it's too small for the body. I know I've suffered from what we would call shrunken head syndrome, as my college professors would tell me during my figure drawing is that, hey, that's a shrunken head. And I started to recognize that. I still do that occasionally, and I have to erase the head and rebuild it. So once again, working in various areas throughout your painting, rather than hyper focusing in one area, can be helpful in recognizing proportion issues early. And as far as I'm trying to lay down some of the shadows, and she's sitting on a couch, so that's one of the things that I'll fill in. And I tried my best to make sure that I tried to capture all of this time lapse. You may notice a couple jumps, and that's one of the things about this time lapse is that I've realized is that I've started work before I've hit record. So if you see a jump, it's probably why. Um, I love working on uh, classic poses, and this is one of those that felt like a real relaxed classic pose. You can see I was using a tissue there. I'm going to go and bring that back. So there we go. Let's see if I can get it to stop. Right there. Let's see here. There. So this is something. If I realize I need to wipe something away, then I will use a tissue. I use Viva. I find that that is by far the best paper towel. I'm sure other artists have extolled the virtues of Viva paper towels. It's wonderful. It holds up so much better than any other paper towel without being a rag. It's the density of it and its ability to hold more paint and medium. You'll get longer life out of a Viva paper towel than you will any other paper towel. So if you have not tried Viva, and this is not a sponsorship, they have not paid me. I wish they would, but they have not paid me. But I will extol the virtues of Viva paper towels. They are amazing. They are worth the cost for painting. So let's go ahead and get back into that. So as you can see, I'm rubbing some areas and readjusting the arm. So that right arm wasn't in the right position, and I made corrections accordingly. There, I'm building in the ukulele a little bit, and just slowly building this thing out. And that's the one thing that I tell my students when I teach plein air is that your painting, your underpainting has to be like a frame of a house. It has before you can put anything else in the house, you have to have the frame built around the house, the actual structure to support everything else. You just can't start building a house by starting out with the kitchen and completing the kitchen. Pardon me. And then move on to other areas. You have to lay the plumbing down first before you can drop the sink, right? So the same thing goes for the underpainting. You have to have a strong underpainting before you begin to build into the details to hold off. So I know I've also used the analogy of a banana split sundae. Is that you've got to have the bananas and the 3 scoops of ice cream in the bowl before you begin anything else. And so I would highly recommend that you try this process of building a strong underpainting before you begin adding details. And so here I'm starting to build various areas of the painting. I've already done her face, and one of the things that I'll talk about with painting women is that you soft details. You really have to extol, how would you say, or express soft features. If a woman has a sharp angular feature that's prominent, make sure that all the other features are soft. Otherwise, it may come off a little manly, and that's not what you want unless it's a manly woman. But even then, try to find areas to soften the areas, especially when it comes to the anatomy. I have always found that women are more challenging than men. Men have hard chiseled features most of the time, and you can get away with hard chisel features or over exaggerating a feature of a man. But when you're doing a woman, you don't want to do hard features. If you look at any Disney movie character, you'll notice the distinct difference between the women or the female characters and the men. And the men have strong jawlines and sharp noses. Very rarely do they have soft features. It's not to say that's the hard rule, but comparing a Disney feature character from a man from a woman, you can see that there's always going to be a lot of soft features. Now, women may have a sharp, prominent, maybe they have a sharp nose or a strong jawline. Sure, that's great to express, but make sure that you have soft features as well. And I've always found that when I'm doing the faces, I have to be cognizant to make sure that I don't do any of the features too strong. Otherwise, it comes off a little manly. I'll probably talk a little bit about that in a future painting, since this face here isn't really that much, but it's worth talking about. The other thing I want to talk about is what's the focus of your painting here, and to make sure that you don't over render a painting. So it's always good to leave areas of mystery, areas that the viewer can fill in, and I still debate as far as whether I could have stopped with the face as it is, but I went forward and I did work on the face a little bit. I'm happy with the final result, but I felt that at some point I probably overworked the face and I ended up having to do more work to get it to where it was. But I kind of wanted to have a little bit of a likeness. I wasn't too concerned about a likeness. Now, I know that there's some artists out there that when they're doing a figure, they don't care about the likeness. They care about the forms and the shapes and the values, and that's perfectly fine too. Um, and honestly, this was just really kind of a demo for me, a practice, and it was a lot of fun. So I really didn't have to get the likeness, and I think that's why I really didn't spend too much time on the face because it really wasn't that much of. Um, what would you say? Her face isn't that much prominent. It's more of what I wanted to express out of this painting. What particular was a woman at ease, playing her instrument, a musician lost in thought or playing. That's kind of why it didn't really render out the right hand. Left the fingers a little bit blurry because maybe she's strumming. I don't know. Lots of fun. Her dress was so fun. I mean, there's just so much fun about this dress that I really, really enjoyed painting that, as well as the legs and the arms and the face. There was just so many things, but I also wanted to leave this unfinished and kind of give it a sketch. That's kind of why that background is kind of a little bit sketchy. Just kind of play with making this a painting and not a photo. So I think I'm just about done here. I'm going to be putting the signature. I debated about whether to put the signature on the left-hand side or the right-hand side. I usually put it on the left, but this time, compositionally, I felt that it was best to put it on the right side. So it just is me, and I always do care about the composition and making sure that my signature doesn't get in the way of the overall painting. I kind of want you to not see it right out. It just sneaks up on you. So. All right, so we're done. Hope you enjoyed this session. Please follow me again on my future videos through YouTube. Subscribe. Please comment below. I'd love to hear your feedback. You can also go to my website, liquidmethod.com, as well as you can sign or follow me on Instagram at liquidmethod. Thanks again. Happy painting, and I will see you guys soon. Later.